You're listening to 92.1 WFOV, Flint, Our Voices Radio. Be heard.
The following presentation has been pre-recorded.
Welcome to Community Playlist. This is Kristen Center-Young, and I am with Shonte Smith here at 92.1 WFOV. Shonte is from YOLO. So tell me about your organization.
Well, YOLO means You Overcoming Lactation Obstacles. The focus on it is just helping moms meet them where they are, educating them prenatally or after they have their babies, providing them whatever services they need, and not just the typical scope that they get from different agencies in the community. So it can be after hours, it can be in their home. So I'm just trying to meet them exactly where they're at.
And I think about some of the places that we've come over the past several years and being able to provide peer services, community-based services, where consumers are services. How did you get the idea to start this?
Well, when I had my oldest, I didn't know a lot about the services in the community because I wasn't from Flint. So, and she's almost 12 now, and I wanted to breastfeed. And in the hospital, it wasn't very promoted. And when I went home and I had every intention on breastfeeding, it always seemed like she was hungry. And so we only breastfed for like 3 to 4 months. I thought I was doing something wrong, things like that. She's still a very hungry child, even at 12. So maybe I just wasn't wrong, but I didn't know where to go for help. Nobody in my family breastfed. My mom didn't breastfeed the 3 of us. So it wasn't well promoted amongst African American women on top of that. And my OB didn't promote it to me either. So I wasn't educated enough about it. Nobody was there to support me. So my second child, I said, you know what, I'm going to breastfeed. So I educated myself. I made sure that it was a priority for me, and I sought as much knowledge as I could from the nurses at the hospital when I delivered, and we breastfed for a whole year. So I know what it was like to not have women like me be an example in the community, and it just became something that I really wanted to advocate for.
How long have you been doing the program?
I've been doing it for the last 2 years.
2 years?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, and where are you out of right now? Are you completely community-based, or do you have a home base somewhere?
I am community-based, so I can be home-based too. No, but yes, I'm right on South Saginaw. I am in the Legal Services Building, actually, at 436 South Saginaw, and I'm in Suite 300. So yes, so I have rocking chairs, boppies, a nice, calm, soothing office where if moms want to just come out and receive the services, they can always come there.
We're going to take some time. We're going to listen to one of the song choices that you made and talk more about YOLO.
Okay.
Want some real talk by some real people? Stay tuned to WFOV 92.1 Recovery Radio and hear real stories of madness turned to miracle. That's WFOV 92.1, Our Voices, Our Recovery.
Yo, 2 words. Disgusting and formula.
Yo, don't look, bro. Plus, formula can't prevent diseases.
Neither can breast milk.
Breast milk prevents diabetes, cancer, and is like best for preemies.
Yo, Sheila's pregnant.
Breastfeeding is healthy, bro. It saves money and it helps them lose weight.
I was so ignorant. Yo, and it helps them lose weight too?
Yes. Real men encourage breastfeeding, bro.
Yo, thanks, man.
Learn more at breastfeedingrose.org.
Parents want to protect their children, but it's challenging. The Strengthening Families program for parents and youth ages 10 to 14 is a scientifically tested curriculum delivered in 7 parent, youth, and family sessions. It helps parents and caregivers learn nurturing skills to support their children. It teaches parents and caregivers how to effectively discipline and guide their youth. It gives youth a healthy future orientation and an increased appreciation of their parents and caregivers. And teaches youth skills for dealing with stress and peer pressure. This program is now offered free for the residents of the Flint community through funding from Region 10 PIHP Strategic Targeted Response Grant. To enroll or find out more, call 810-660-1411 or go to our website at www.odysseyvillage.com.
You're listening to Community Playlist. This is Kristen Centers-Young, and I am with Shonte Smith from YOLO. We've been talking about breastfeeding, and you mentioned that it's something that's not promoted amongst the African-American community. Why do you think that is?
Grassroots organizations are starting to promote it, but I think it has that stigma of medical professionals basically think Black women don't breastfeed, so they don't take the time to promote it to their patients. And that's a horrible stigma to have, because whether you think I will or not, you should still give me that education to make an informed decision, especially when it's the best choice for your child.
And I'm thinking about being in substance use disorder services for so long. One of the things that I hear frequently is that this perception that if you are on any kind of medications or you smoke or you drink, that you shouldn't breastfeed. And to me, that seems like a very prejudiced and stereotypical perception to have as, but not the African American community. This is something that we're going to promote in areas that are sort of upper middle class suburban because we're not expecting these. And that, to me, sounds like very institutionalized racism. Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I
So
agree.
we're in agreement.
Yes. 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 We so
Every time I
agree.
hear that, I always think,
Yes.
we do have a system that is sort of institutionalized racism. We know that.
Right.
And we have it where it even goes into breastfeeding and lactation support services. You're a mom living in Flint. How do you take that on by yourself? I mean, what do you do next?
So for me, I was like, what can I do next? Because I want more women who look like me to breastfeed. So when I started out in my career, my supervisor asked me, did I want to become a certified lactation counselor? I was like, yes, I will go to this training. So I went to that week training. And of course, it was probably 5 African-American women in the room for the training amongst probably like 50 of us. And after that, like in any profession, there's certain levels of respect. So you could be a peer counselor, which is kind of like, to some people in the world, like kind of like the bottom of support for breastfeeding. Then you could become a COC or a lactation specialist. And then you can become an IBCLC, which is like the top thing where physicians, hospitals, things like that will hire you. So I sought to become that because there's not enough of us in the field. So if we want to promote it to African American women, but if a woman, say here in Flint, she's low income or she never saw family members breastfeed, things like that. If she's in a hospital, she sees this upper class or middle class white woman telling her like, yeah, you can do this or whatever, that she won't relate. She'll feel like this isn't the same type of, you don't have the same struggles I have that may prevent me from successfully breastfeeding. But if you can see a mom like me that was going to school full time and working part time and was still able to successfully breastfeed, I think that'll motivate the mom to do it more. So I just became an IBCLC in December. I passed my exam. So I am the first African American lactation consultant here in Genesee County.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very, very exciting.
Thank you.
And I think that's one of the things, too, when you were talking, is that looking at or talking to women like me, you don't know my struggles. And I'm thinking about how many young women are going to school, who have jobs, who are maybe don't have transportation. We know car insurance costs in this state are ridiculous. So might not be able to maintain car insurance, have to use public transportation, have to have their children in daycare. Just being able to know how to breastfeed successfully and have that, I think about how important it is then to be able to maintain that bonding and attachment piece, but how to do that in a way that promotes the health and well-being of your child and still being able to get it done, because there's a lot to get done. And I don't know if that's necessarily something about your race as socioeconomic level and just
most
age
definitely,
and,
most definitely.
but just how hard it can be to feel like you're being a good mom.
Yes.
Period. In a day where you feel like we're constantly struggling to keep up with all the requirements. So amazing for being that role model out there and for that achievement. That's great.
Thanks.
It's awesome. I didn't know that. I would have brought you in here just for that. Had I known that. It was a lucky coincidence.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
So we're going to take a break and we're going to listen to some of the songs that you chose and come back and talk more about promoting breastfeeding.
Want some real talk by some real people? Stay tuned to WFOV 92.1 Recovery Radio and hear real stories of madness turned to miracle. That's WFOV 92.1, our voices, our recovery.
In a word, breastfeeding is amazing. The fact that we as women create life and get to nurture that life, it's an incredible feeling.
It's empowering. Breastfeeding is a magical bond that only I can have with my baby. It's challenging and it's rewarding. When I go to the doctor, when I hear how well my baby is developing, I know that's because of all the goodness in my milk.
It's liberating. I can feed my baby and give him everything he needs anytime, anywhere.
Breastfeeding is powerful. Even when I'm at work, every time I pump, I know I'm doing this for my baby.
It's the best thing I can do for my baby.
While every mom has a different way of describing breastfeeding, we all need help and encouragement. So know that support is there for you, from your family or from your friends. And at womenshealth.gov/it's only natural.
Breastfeeding. It's only natural.
Mother's love, mother's milk. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Parents want to protect their children, but it's challenging. The Strengthening Families program for parents and youth ages 10 to 14 is a scientifically tested curriculum delivered in 7 parent, youth, and family sessions. It helps parents and caregivers learn nurturing skills to support their children. It teaches parents and caregivers how to effectively discipline and guide their youth. It gives youth a healthy future orientation and an increased appreciation of their parents and caregivers, and teaches youth skills for dealing with stress and peer pressure. This program is now offered free for the residents of the Flint community through funding from Region 10 PIHP Strategic Targeted Response Grant. To enroll or find out more, call 810-660-1411 or go to our website at www.odysseyvillage.com.
You're listening to Community Playlist. This is Kristen Centers-Young, and I am with Shonte Smith from YOLO. I love the sound of that when I say that.
Thank you.
Going around and talking about being a lactation specialist, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody came to you and said, what are those services? I mean, what exactly is it that I can expect when I meet with a specialist?
Oh my gosh, the things that can go wrong. Engorgement, mastitis, clogged ducts, latching issues is usually the number one thing. Weight concerns, lip tie, tongue tie. There's just a variety of things. Cracked nipples, bleeding nipples. Those are just a few things that you can expect. A lot of times moms are concerned, is baby getting enough? Because you can't see the volume, and we've been so trained to be able to physically see things, and we don't have faith in our bodies to do the work when that's what they were put here to do. And most breastfed babies end up chunky. That's what people don't understand. They end up being some of the chunkiest cute little things. Oh my gosh. So yeah.
Well, just the amount. I mean, it's the difference between nutritionally, isn't it? The difference between skim milk and condensed milk. So you don't really need as much to get the same level of.
And I try to tell people that, and they just don't believe me. Yeah. But I remember being there, so I try to take them. I understand where you're at, but let me bring you this way. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that I remember the first time that I actually saw a bottle that had breast milk in it, and saw the consistency. And again, that was the thinking is, this is the formula's like the skim milk version, and breast milk's like the condensed milk version. So you don't need as much to get all the kind of power pack on it.
Also, like how you said, the medications, and if you're smoking, I always tell moms to be honest with me if whatever you got going on, so I can give you the honest response of how to treat it medically. You can still breastfeed and smoke cigarettes. Smoke after you nurse the baby. Right. Marijuana is one of those touchy ones right now because we don't have enough research on it, but moms tend to, and then that's something with the doctor that you have to deal with also, because if they find babies test positive for it still, because you are putting it in your body and it's coming to your baby. Some moms use it for motivation to get off substances. Is this going to affect my milk supply? And smoking cigarettes will affect your milk supply. So some moms say, hey, you know what? Get the best nutrition for my baby than it is for me to smoke cigarettes. And so those are awesome stories that I hear sometimes. So
I think one of the things too is you mentioned after, not before, because of the CO levels that are still happening and coming off your breath.
Yes.
And so you want to make sure that you have that resolved. There's actually machines you can get, right? That you can measure the CO content.
You can. Okay, I know which one you're talking about.
Right,
they look
the little
more
exhale. And then you can see that you still have this on your breath, and now you have a little person right underneath you, so it should be smoked after you feed, and then you have enough time to go back to normal than right before.
And it promotes safe sleep too, because that secondhand smoke is everything. and that's something that could be prevented. So, yeah.
Right, absolutely. Awesome tips on that. One of the things, too, I was thinking about is that we have, for instance, all these clear baby bottles so that you can tell exactly how many ounces and what time and keep a chart and all of that. And you don't got that with your own body. So, again, you mentioned the faith, which is knowing that you are and being able to trust your body to do what it's intended to do and taking that in a way that's medically responsible. That's awesome. Also wanted to talk about and mention, because it's a theme I think that comes up a lot, is just be honest. Tell me your worst habit. Be honest with me and I'll tell you what you need to do to make the best decisions around your worst habit. Because the body is amazing. I think about women who are HIV positive and able to give birth. And not pass on HIV as long as you're honest up front about what's going on and how to protect yourself and how to protect your child. But deception out of guilt and shame is never a good idea, right?
I want people to feel like it's no judgment here. I just want to help you do whatever you feel is best for you and your baby.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We're going to listen to a song selection and come back and talk more about what's going on at YOLO.
That's right, you're listening to WFOV 92.1 Flint, Our Voices Radio.
Breastfeeding moms tend to believe that they have to have a special diet, but they're fine to continue with their current diet. Whatever it is that they enjoy, they can eat the same way. But we do talk to them about the effect on the baby. If they're eating foods that's causing the baby to be fussy, then they may want to take those out of their diet and, of course, avoid tobacco, alcohol, and drugs for the safety of themselves and the child. The most important thing is making sure that they're hydrated, drinking plenty of fluids. Hydration is important with breastfeeding because as moms pump and express their milk, they're removing fluids. So therefore, it's important for them to continue to replenish their body.
Parents want to protect their children, but it's challenging. The Strengthening Families program for parents and youth ages 10 to 14 is a scientifically tested curriculum delivered in 7 parent, youth, and family sessions. It helps parents and caregivers learn nurturing skills to support their children. It teaches parents and caregivers how to effectively discipline and guide their youth. It gives youth a healthy future orientation and an increased appreciation of their parents and caregivers. And teaches youth skills for dealing with stress and peer pressure. This program is now offered free for the residents of the Flint community through funding from Region 10 PIHP Strategic Targeted Response Grant. To enroll or find out more, call 810-660-1411 or go to our website at www.odysseyvillage.com.
Childhood obesity is an epidemic in the U.S. However, breastfeeding from birth can help prevent childhood obesity. Obese kids are more likely to become obese adults who suffer from chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease. Every month the baby is breastfed, the chance of becoming overweight goes down. But a third of moms stop breastfeeding without hospital support. With nearly 500 babies born in U.S. hospitals every hour, hospitals play a vital role in helping a new mom start and continue breastfeeding. Yet about 95% of hospitals lack policies that fully support breastfeeding. There are 10 steps hospitals can take to support breastfeeding moms. These include making sure moms have time to learn how to breastfeed, are able to breastfeed as often as their baby needs, and that they know where to get help when they go home. Learn more about how hospitals can support breastfeeding moms at www.cdc.gov/vital signs.
Welcome back. This is Kristen Center-Zhang. You're listening to Community Playlist, and I am here with Shonte Smith from YOLO. And YOLO stands for?
You Overcoming Lactation Obstacles.
Absolutely. When meeting with somebody that's just trying to figure out whether or not they want to breastfeed and wanting to know what are some of the best things they can do to prepare for that, what is your advice?
I always tell moms take a class. Taking a class is like half the battle because then you're prepared, because the first thing you're going to think is, how is this little amount of colostrum that's coming out out how is it enough to feed your baby. And then you can learn about belly size and how to prevent poor latch and how to prevent engorgement, the signs to look for certain things. And then you feel prepared instead of overwhelmed, because after labor, trying to teach you all of those things, it's too much for you to absorb. You got hormones fluctuating, you got a new baby, it's just too much. So preparing before time, I think, is the best thing a mom can do.
Okay, so taking a class.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other kinds of concerns that should be taken into consideration?
Beforehand, just knowing the status of your health, because there are things that can prevent you from being successful at lactation. It's just as far as thyroid issues, if you have endometriosis, have you had gestational diabetes, high blood pressure, the medications that you're taking, examining your breasts, just making sure those are fine. It's just little things that can be done ahead of time that you can know health-wise for yourself, the issues that could prevent. Baby, there are ways that we can help you still be successful.
Okay, so taking that time to find out what some of those challenges would be beforehand, so that there can be some choices made beforehand.
Exactly.
So that after the stress of labor and delivery, you're not adding an extra layer.
Extra bonus.
An extra bonus layer of stress and anxiety
Exactly.
on that. Because I think that just being a woman, I think a lot of times can relate to the idea that not feeling like you're being adequate enough. And then I've never met a mom that really walked or talked about how they're a great mom and they've got all the answers and they know what they're doing. I have yet to meet anybody that actually feels that way. So being challenged with that sense of, I'm not doing this right anyway, and then adding, out of all the things I should be able to do, I should very easily be able to breastfeed because that's how I'm programmed. It just compiles that level of shame and rejection. So
Yes.
by all means, get it all noted. Get all the information you can ahead of time.
All of it.
So if I wanted to take that class and get that information ahead of time, how would I contact you?
Well, you can call me at 810-213-0090. That's the best way. You can text me if you're interested. We can do one-on-one classes. I can shoot you a flyer and let you know when my next class will be coming up, and that'll be the best way for you to find out. It'll be also on YOLObreastfeeding.org. That'll be another place that you can also find out class times and how you can go about setting up a private session if needed also.
So there's a website, YOLObreastfeeding.org.
Yes.
Okay. Phone number?
810-213-0090.
Okay. We're going to take a song break and come back and talk more about what to expect when contacting YOLO.
Want some real talk by some real people? Stay tuned to WFOV 92.1 Recovery Radio and hear real stories of madness turned to miracle. That's WFOV 92.1, our voices, our recovery.
I went online and I found that breastfed babies have stronger immune systems. It helps to boost brain development. Research also shows that breastfed babies are happier babies. And I've also found, which is one of my favorites, there's a bond that is created between mother and child when you breastfeed. So why wouldn't you want to breastfeed? I believe spending time researching about how to feed my baby helped me make a better choice.
Yo, 2 words. Disgusting and formula.
Yo, don't look, bro. Plus, formula can't prevent diseases.
Neither can breast milk.
Breast milk prevents diabetes, cancer, and is like best for preemies.
Yo, Sheila's pregnant.
Breastfeeding is healthy, bro. It saves money and it helps them lose weight.
Oh, so ignorant. Yo, and it helps them lose weight too?
Yes. Real men encourage breastfeeding, bro.
Yo, thanks, man.
Learn more at breastfeedingrose.org.
Parents want to protect their children, but it's challenging. The Strengthening Families program for parents and youth ages 10 to 14 is a scientifically tested curriculum delivered in 7 parent, youth, and family sessions. It helps parents and caregivers learn nurturing skills to support their children. It teaches parents and caregivers how to effectively discipline and guide their youth. It gives youth a healthy future orientation and an increased appreciation of their parents and caregivers. And teaches youth skills for dealing with stress and peer pressure. This program is now offered free for the residents of the Flint community through funding from Region 10 PIHP Strategic Targeted Response Grant. To enroll or find out more, call 810-660-1411 or go to our website at www.odysseyvillage.com.
Welcome back to Community Playlist. This is Kristen Centers-Young. I'm with Shonte Smith from YOLO. We've been talking about some of the institutionalized, stigma and racism that comes with breastfeeding in different populations. You mentioned that you're the first African-American lactation specialist in Genesee County.
Yes.
And the low number of representatives of African-Americans in even taking the trainings. I just am floored because I think of as moms, and when you think of being out in the community and seeing people, I'm really struggling with the idea that there's so much difference between that. I'm really kind of shocked. How do we get there? How do we get where we have that much difference?
I think it's just those assumptions. I also feel like it's the standard of level of care. I love my OBs that I've had, but I know that in certain communities, the medical service you receive can be rushed. It's like about the numbers, it's about getting people in, getting people out. We don't take the time needed to give that good bedside care that we could. But then I look at things like different organizations in Detroit who has doulas, and those are like the best thing ever, like to have a doula, because your doula's with you through the pregnancy. She's there during labor. She's also 9 times out of 10 trained with breastfeeding. And so having that in African American communities, I think is one of the best things that I've seen, because it's that level of support and bedside care that I think a mom should have.
And that's one of the things I think about. A doula is from the African tradition. And so being able to say, how did that get removed? Is what I'm trying to wrap my brain around, is that being that a doulas are based on an African tradition, have an African American population that's not embracing the doula. This can't be about the medical community making decisions for this. This has to be some other kind of influence. We can't. It's too easy to blame OBs. You know what I mean? Like, so where else are we getting some of this backlash then?
I think people also see breastfeeding as something that, oh, that's something those people do. That's not something we do. Just give me a bottle, and I think it's generational. You see grandma do it. If grandma didn't breastfeed and then your mom didn't breastfeed, it just keeps rolling on down. So if that becomes the standard and the norm, we just keep on moving it forward that way until somebody stops and says and gets that education that, hey, this is the better choice for our family. And then they could be the example to their daughters and so on. So like my girls have seen me breastfeed the one after them and the one after them. They've seen me nurse their brother and he's 4. And that's something that's taboo in our community. So seeing those types of things, like they know babies are breastfed. And I even think of how my 4-year-old, he'll tell me, even though he's been breastfed all this time, babies take bottles. Babies don't drink booby milk. And so that's the type of thing, because that's what we see on TV. That's what he sees when he's out, babies drinking out of bottles. And I'm like, well, you drink booby milk. And he believes it's because he's a big boy. So those types of images that I think we see out in the community and on television, like the mom at the State of the Union address, she was breastfeeding. And I put that on Facebook because it's like, these are the things that you need to see. Yes, she used a cover, but look, she's out here and she's breastfeeding. And those just aren't our norms across the board, because moms are shamed. They believe that our society makes breasts sexual, and that's how we see them. So it's okay if I show them out when I'm in a sexy dress with my husband, but it's not okay if I'm doing it to nourish my baby.
Well, that's what they're there for, and being able to actually take that back instead of being, I guess you could say, the thing that always bothered me is that women looking at a part of their body as being there for somebody else. And it's, yes, that's true, but her children, not the general public. And so people talking about the way that they're displayed in public, in dresses and shirts, but then when displayed to actually be used for their true purpose somehow becomes offensive, which is amazing. Brianna can wear a see-through shirt, but don't let Cassandra over here get caught breastfeeding. Explain that. That makes no sense.
And so those are just the things, like, I believe it can start with that first OB appointment, if you plant that seed to put it in somebody's head, but it's also the way our communities are shaped to promote or to discourage breastfeeding.
And I one of the things you'd mentioned is that what those people do. And having been raised by people that were Southern, who came up and have, because of being able to get jobs in the factories, sort of had more money, had more disposable income, could afford Tang instead of orange juice, right? Then it becomes, well, all the extra nutrients, and then it becomes somehow this powdered substitute that was intended to substitute for the real thing becomes the more appropriate or apparently appropriate choice than the real thing. It's a little bit of a twist on reality where I guess kind of through the rabbit hole, which sort of looking at this was the emergency response has now become the first response rather than the breastfeeding is supposed to be the preferred choice.
Right.
It's twisted.
It is.
So I'm not the only one that looks at it and wonders how we get back up from out of the rabbit hole that we've fallen into with these emergency response tools have become the standardization based on because I can. I have the money for it now.
Yes. And it's so easily accessible. Like, even if you, in the daytime, if you're a mom and you're watching cartoons with your children, you'll see a formula commercial. You won't see a commercial that says, hey, breastfeed. And that's how we've just set things up now. So even if you go shopping for a baby shower gift, there's only a minimum selection of breastfeeding items in the store. But you see bottles, you see every tool you need for formula, but you get gift bags, you can do the little gift sets for formula, but it's like, how can we encourage and make it as marketable as we do formula?
Well, I think you said the magic word there, marketable, and then looking at the idea that being in a culture that really does depend on commerce is what makes the wheels turn, so to speak, and that you can't sell a body function.
Right.
Well, you can, but we're not going to talk about that.
Exactly.
Right. And so we looking at the idea that how do you market and going back to the doula is something now that's actually being recognized as a profession more and more. For many years would only hear fringes talk about doulas, and now if I use the term, everybody knows what I'm talking about. If they've never met one, they at least know what I'm referring to. Looking at how do we make this natural activity more marketable would be one of those things then we can look at and say the populations would have more equitable access to it because we're having some way to say, hey, this is natural, this is normal. You were mentioning boppies. What's a boppy?
So a boppy is just that cute little pillow that can go around you to help support you while you're breastfeeding. It's just, instead of you having a hunchback and become in pain while you're nursing, it's just extra support. But I know there are ways to market breastfeeding. I have changed a mom and a dad's mind by just saying the benefits of breastfeeding. So for every year that you breastfeed, you're reducing your risk of breast cancer by like 4.3%. So just think, I've nursed for almost 7 years. That's almost cutting my risk by 30%. If I told you I didn't have to go to the doctor and I had pink eye, guess what I did? I just hand expressed some milk, put it in my eye. I saved me a trip to the doctor, which is a copay, and also for the medication, all because breast milk is like this healing wonder that I think we haven't tapped into like we should. You can use it for eczema, diaper rash, burns. I prevented everybody else in the house had the stomach bug, and here it is, my breastfed baby who's still getting milk is the only one who didn't get it. So you're preventing disease, you're preventing obesity. I believe we've just become so used to things being quick, and we think the bottle is quicker, but by the time you make a bottle, I've already started breastfeeding my baby. Just think about it at night. Instead of me getting up, turning on lights, disturbing the baby more to warm up a bottle and prepare it, here it is, I can just give you this breast milk and it's already ready to tap, and then you can quietly put the baby back to rest. So there's perks to it that I think people don't look at, but once they receive that knowledge, and hey, breast milk helps you burn calories, like you burn 500 to 700 calories a day for the like almost that whole year. Well, mom doesn't want to snap back and lose that weight, like so if that's just a benefit for a mom alone, if you sitting there doing nothing but feeding your baby and burning all those calories in one day, to me that's marketable in itself. So.
Just the money you save at the gym for it takes 2 hours on the treadmill to burn that same number of calories, and you can do that by just bonding with your baby.
Yes.
Right. So good point in making that. Thank you for correcting the marketing problem.
See, I try. I sell it whenever I can. So yeah.
So thank you for coming in and joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
This is Community Playlist with Kristen Centers Young. I've been talking with Shonte Smith from YOLO.
YOLO.